it's really great to be with all of you today, this afternoon. Today, Chen had asked me to provide a little bit of an overview of our services, so career and professional development services, as well as specifically how to identify some opportunities and some resources that are available to each of you as students. Of course, as you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will do my best to monitor both the chat as well as my presentation. Please feel free to do that as well, or just come off of mute and ask your question accordingly. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so just again, today we're going to talk about, before we get straight to the resources, we're going to talk a little bit about career and career development in general, but I promise to make it as fun as possible, as interesting as possible, and as relevant as possible. And then we're going to dive into career interest communities a little bit, and we're going to close with some resources that are, again, available to you. So what's really important to remember is that career is not linear. So whatever your major is, obviously when you selected a major at the beginning of your tenure in college, you decided it based on what your goals or aspirations might have been. However, your major does not equal your career. Your major is a part of your career development, but it's not the only thing that dictates what you're going to do after you graduate. What you do after you graduate is consistent of a lot of different elements of who you are and your experience. And of course, again, your major is a part of that, but it's not the only thing. Really, this is the reality of what career really equates to. Just to tell you a little bit about my story, I started as a psychology major when I was an undergrad, and I transitioned into getting my master's in social work. And then all of a sudden I found myself here delivering a presentation to each of you about career. So while there's elements of probably psychology and social work in my conversations with students, it definitely wasn't where I thought I would end up when I chose my major as a freshman. So you can see that, again, it's influenced by a lot of different elements as it relates to, again, your identity and your goals and your passions. And so I really want to make sure that during our conversation, you keep this in mind as you think about what you're going to do after you graduate. So, in the chat box, and I know that a couple of you are in the room, so however you want to organize that, but I'd really love to know what your major is. And then also, if you're willing to, what are some goals that you have around your major, or what are some goals you have after you graduate? So if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple of seconds here to put in the chat box what those could be and what those are. I'd love to look at them and maybe to get some insight about who all of you are today. Okay, so film studies, that's great. Thank you, Sarah. So just to continue the conversation, as anyone speaks up, please put it in there. Political science, great. Again, that's a great major, especially thinking about what you want to do after you graduate in relation to this conversation. East Asian studies, wonderful. Great, thank you for sharing. So career competencies. So this is another really big piece to your career and professional development. So we have asked and worked with employers to better understand what their needs are from an organizational perspective, and how do we better prepare our students for workplace. And so what happened is basically these career competencies, is these buckets, is what all of the different kinds of skills, the different kinds of experiences, these are all the different buckets that those landed in. And so you can see critical thinking, communication, leadership, technology, also career and self-development. So I like to think of this as investment in yourself. How are you investing in your career and your professional and self-development? Teamwork, professionalism, and equity and inclusion are all career competencies that employers have indicated are important to a staff member or an employee in their organization and who they're looking to hire. So as you think about your own career path, really reflect on how you've gained these competencies. And also, if you've not yet gained these competencies or maybe executed on these competencies, think about the different experiences that you might want to take advantage of to be able to build in these competency areas. So to that point, as you're thinking about those competencies, these are just some ideas that you might want to think about to grow your skill set. So obviously you guys all have a very focus in language and foreign language specifically. And so that's always going to be something that you're including in any kind of resume, any kind of interview. That's going to be something that helps you to stand out above other candidates. And if you're looking to grow your skill set in other areas, these are great places to do that. So clubs and organizations, again, my guess is this group is heavily involved in clubs and organizations, professional organizations. There are some professional organizations that offer student memberships. So if that's of interest to you, I would check out some professional organizations that might be related to the field you're interested in going into. Student activities. So again, overall, just student involvement. And I will loop that into community involvement as well. Part-time jobs. Again, growing that experience is essential, especially when you think about graduation. Employers don't hire degrees. They want to see experience. The degree gets you, it's the key to opening the door, but really all of your experience and everything you're looking at right now is what allows you to walk through that door. So really being intentional about how you're getting experience during your time in college is really important. Course projects. Oftentimes when I work with students, they don't know that course projects are another great place to build your skill set. It's a great place to talk about research and teamwork and writing and communication and even presentation skills. So you can talk about course projects, especially in your resume. Internships, of course, study abroad, which I'm sure interests a lot of you, and then service learning. So this, again, this slide really goes to iterate that you can have several interests, and we call these career interest communities. And so the little hives or the little beehives in the beehive in the middle of the screen, that talks to all of the career interest communities that we've basically categorized as different industries that might be that are available to you. And that you might want to consider going into or thinking about in terms of what your goals are after you graduate. But there's a way to obviously merge several interests into an industry or a career. And so you can see some examples of what that could look like. So I'll just point out the communications and media. So an English student who is interested in working on the public relations team of a nonprofit to help them meet fundraising goals. So again, you're merging, a student is merging their interest in language with an actual nonprofit that is pursuing fundraising opportunities. And so that merges a lot of different industries and and the students' interest in those industries. And so again, I would encourage you to think about what your interests are so that you can have the most fulfilling opportunities after you graduate and even beyond graduation. It's something that you should still evaluate throughout the duration of your life cycle as it relates to your career. So going back to my own story, my own interests have evolved from the time I've declared a major. And so again, they continue to evolve, and that's good and that's okay. I'm just kind of reiterating the similar points that I've already made. The question isn't always what can you do with your major? It's how can I market the knowledge, skills, and experience that your degree brings? So really, again, thinking about everything you're gaining in your college time, all of the academic work as well as the experience, that is everything that you should be thinking about in terms of marketing yourself after you graduate. So career interest communities, that little hive that I showed you, those are consistent of your degree as well as your experience, your background, your interests, and your values. Again, this is not new to our conversation. This is something that I've been talking about, but we've just outlined it nicely on a slide here. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about resources available to you. And so as it mentions, resources are available by any student or alumni of any major in any part of the world at any time. So what we've really put a focus on, and this was even before COVID hit, we really put a focus on online resources and online meetings with students, because we recognize that students are very busy, and that it's important that no matter where you are in the world, and I know that all of you will be traveling the world very shortly, these resources are always available to you. So please take advantage of them. So career advising. So one-on-one appointments with our career advisors is something that's available to you. Workshops and webinars. I will tell you right now, I'm going to show you our tool Handshake in a moment. However, when it says workshops and webinars, this is not just by our office. This is employers actually host their own workshops and webinars as well. And so you can access those at any time, or based on your own schedule. And if they end up being recorded, then you can access them at any time. But there are hundreds of them. And I would strongly encourage you, if you're interested in a specific company or even in the industry that a company is a part of, I would strongly recommend you attending at least one or two as you look to network and gain opportunities after graduation, because networking is very important in gaining opportunities. Career events. So we have career fairs every February and September. And so this attracts hundreds of employers, and we are doing them this upcoming spring in a hybrid modality. So both online as well as in person in the Memorial Union. And so again, this is a great place to meet employers and find employers that are relevant to your interest. And then self-directed resources. So we have things like an interview stream resource, which as you're learning and practicing interviews, this is on-demand interview practice. So you would log in and actually just go through a mock interview, and it's on your own time. It's not an actual person. And so it's something that's available to you, and you can practice that as often as you need to. We also have resume Dropbox, which again, you submit your resume to an online portal, and this is where an actual person reviews it. And we give feedback in about 3 to 5 business days. These are just a sampling of the advising topics that you could take advantage of. I would say as it's most relevant to our conversation today, talking about job and internship searches. So, as you've looked through all of the different online portals looking for opportunities, our advisors are ready to have conversations with you about other strategies that you might have thought of already. A big part, I will just say, a big part of job and internship searching including networking. So, it's the fact that, there's going to be hundreds of applications when you submit your resume and cover letter to a company. And so what really helps a candidate stand out is if that company recognizes your name somehow. So, getting in front of an employer, whether it's connecting with them on LinkedIn or whether it is connecting them through a career event like I just talked through, somehow, some way, if they can recognize your name, it helps when it comes to actually finding the next opportunity. So I know it can be a little bit uncomfortable. I'll just speak for myself. It's very uncomfortable to network and talk about yourself and put yourself out there. but it's so important because you're amongst other candidates. And so really talking about your skills, especially your language skills, are important because, again, not every candidate's going to have the level of skill that you have. So when I talk about networking, a great place to start networking is the ASU Mentor Network. And so this is where professionals that are already in the field, if they want to speak and connect with ASU students, they'll connect through the ASU Mentor Network. And so this is, again, free for you as a student. And so you would log in and just search based on keyword, based on industry, however you want to search. And you can actually search for professionals that are doing what you want to do or are in the industry that you're interested in, just to put your foot in the water, just to start asking questions. And when I encourage networking, I will tell you, do not leave a conversation without getting the name of another person. You want to make sure you're kind of building that web of contacts so that you can go to the next person and continue the conversation and really put your name out there. So ASU Mentor Network is a great place to start doing that. And it's a great tool for you to use as you kind of explore those people that you want to network. Great, Esteban. Yes, please use the resource. All right, now I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint and switch to a different share. So just by chat, who here has already heard of Handshake? And as you guys enter into the chat, I'm going to go ahead and preview Handshake with you. So also you can log into Handshake. You don't have to follow my screen. Oh, great. A lot of you have. That's wonderful. So you can log into Handshake yourself. You can, not look at my screen if you prefer, but Handshake is a really, really great resource for you, especially as you start to try to research what's out there. And also not just looking for a job to apply to, but just doing research in general, learning about employers, learning about what employers are looking for in terms of their job descriptions. This is a really great place to start thinking about how to develop your resume. So if you're seeing, a specific language requirement in specific jobs, then you know how to include that in your resume. So different pieces like that are important when you think about Handshake. And it's not just, again, to apply to jobs. It's not when it's not the step you take when you're ready to apply to jobs. It's so much more than that. So what I would encourage you to do is, again, go into Handshake, just click around, see what's in there, really explore it, use it as a time to, again, network with employers. What Handshake does really nice is once you set up your profile, it actually starts customizing your experience. So if you haven't done so already, if you go to your name or your initials, mine has a picture on there already. But if you click on My Career Interests, if you haven't done this already, then you can go in here and update accordingly. Because maybe when you first filled it out, you were interested in internship, but maybe now you're interested in a full-time job. And then you can, again, customize your experience. One thing I want to point out to this group is, where are you interested in living? So again, as you're looking to utilize your skill sets, maybe in a different country, you can indicate that in that. So, and this is the platform is open to employers that hire internationally. So take advantage of it, because we actually will approve jobs in China, we'll approve jobs in Mexico, anywhere across the world. You will find an opportunity. So I will say, make sure you're customizing this so as you are in Handshake, you're seeing relevant opportunities to you. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the main screen. And so you can see again, it's customizing the experience, recommending employers, recommending internships, because I did say I was interested in working in an internship. So it's surfacing quite a bit of internships for me, but it's also saying, based on job roles I'm interested in, it's surfacing some of those opportunities, also popular in my major. It's just a really great tool that, again, go in and just play around with it, and do some keyword searches based on what your interests are. And you'll find that there's a lot of opportunity for you. Events. So remember when I told you there were like hundreds of employer events? I was not lying to you. So if I click on this week, we'll just do some filters. You can see a lot of different offerings by ASU. So all of the career centers are in here entering their events that are available to you as students. And also you can see employers. So you can just see some, I'm just scrolling through and you can see some employers that have posted. And so I would encourage you, again, take a look at this and attend an event with an employer. Again, they're all virtual in nature, or most of them are virtual. Some of them might be on campus, but it gives you an idea of, again, what employers are looking for. And you never know, it might be a great networking opportunity as well. Okay. And then you can find just a directory of employers. And you can follow employers as well. So this is showing me the employers that I follow. So when you find an employer, you can follow them. You can click on them and then actually follow them to see what opportunities they are posting. So again, really great tool for you to take advantage of. Also, when you're ready to schedule an appointment with a career advisor, so again, part of the resources that are available to you are meeting with career advisors, you would click on your career center. And then, it's loading. You would just follow what you want to do. So you click on appointments and then schedule a new appointment. And then just follow the prompts from there. So if you're in there already kind of playing around, you'd be able to see, but this is where you're just going to select all students, any major career and internship advising, or when you become an alumni, you're going to click alumni. Okay. And so you would just follow the prompts according to schedule. So that is Handshake. I'm going to pause there just to breathe a little bit myself, but see if there's any questions in the meantime.
I think Brigham has his hands raised.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I have.
No, you're good. I was raising my hand earlier when you asked me to use Handshake before.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yep. And I have my little the view of everybody minimized while I'm presenting. So thanks, Chen.
Yep, no problem.
All right. So the other really good tool, and I think this is really important for all of you to know about, especially as I understand what your maybe post-graduation goals are, is InnerStride. So again, if you want to log in and just kind of listen to me talk versus follow along on my screen, you would go to student.innerstride.com. It's going to take you to log into your single sign-on for ASU, because it is something that we pay for you as a student. And so you'll need to log in and verify that you're a student. So again, you can do that, or you can follow along on my screen. But InnerStride is a great tool in terms of working internationally. The target audience is really the target audience for this website is really international students. However, it is also a great tool for domestic students looking to work internationally. So you can see just based on the home screen, it takes you to jobs. And again, this is another one of those home screens that's going to be customized based on how you save things or how you search for things. And so you can use it to search for, again, keywords based on what your interests are or what your skill is. Again, select the country that you're interested in working in. And again, you can save it. So you can see saved searches or even recommended searches. This is, again, supplemental to Handshake. So the two are not the same. They're two separate websites, but two great resources for you to use. You can also take this step to network, as well as learn. I really like, I'm going to skip over network because I've talked a lot about networking, but learn. So this is a great one thing that stands out from InnerStride to Handshake is the resources and the webinars. So as you are, again, exploring other countries or what it means to work in another country, they do quite a bit of work in this space. And so take a look at what they offer in terms of the different resources and how some of these different topics could look different based on the country that you're interested in working in. So again, take advantage of this resource as well. And then also I've attended a couple of their webinars. And so this is, again, another great opportunity for you to just take advantage of. And these are all, again, free for you as a student. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen again and switch back quickly to my PowerPoint. All right. So we always like to close our presentation with a question around what is one thing you're willing to do in the next 24 hours that will put you on the path to success. And this is by no means me asking you to make a to-do list. This is really just one thing that you're willing to do. So maybe you saw the presentation and you just decided, I want to check out InnerStride. That's going to be my next step. Or I want to research specific companies that are related to my industry. So whatever sparked your interest during this presentation, write it down and commit to doing it within the next 24 hours. Don't commit to, finding a job in the next 24 hours. I would argue that's too big of a goal right now. But what's a small step you're willing to take to achieve the bigger goal? So that concludes my time with you today. But again, I'm happy to answer any kind of questions that you might have.